If you are putting the day down now and letting things quieten around you, you are welcome here with me for a while. This one is a little different from my usual old Irish myths. So, if you find yourself liking this gentler Irish story, set among the stars, I would be very grateful if you subscribed to Celtic Slumber and maybe left a comment to tell me if you would like more of this style. For now, you do not need to do anything at all. Just listen as I bring you onto a ship called the SS Ulster and out into a quieter corner of the future. My name is Orla, and I was born under a grey Irish sky, long before I ever saw a star without an atmosphere between us. I am older now, old enough that my hands remember tools more than they remember games, and my knees complain softly when I climb ladders too fast. But my mind still wanders easily, and my heart still stirs for new places, even if those places are no longer green hills and stone walls, but silent stations glowing above blue planets and the long, slow drift of the SS Ulster through dark space. The SS Ulster is not a grand ship by the standards of the great empires. She is not covered in weapons, and she does not carry armies. She is a long vessel with a strong spine and patient engines, fitted with gardens instead of gun decks and listening arrays instead of cannons. Her hull is a dull, workmanlike grey that catches starlight in a way I have always found comforting, like old metal spoons catching the fire's glow on a winter evening. She was built in the Belfast orbital yards by people whose grandparents still remembered rain on their faces and the feel of turf smoke in their lungs. They named her Ulster, so that some part of home would be written on her wherever she went. We wander, that is what we do. We are not the first human ship to roam without fixed destination, and we will not be the last, but we are known in a quiet way when the SS Ulster docks at a trade ring or comes into visual range of a station. The traffic controllers lower their voices without even meaning to. When our call sign appears on a console, people sit up a little straighter. They call us the quiet ones. Not just our crew, but humans in general, wherever they have settled or drifted. It is meant kindly, mostly, but there is an edge of something else in it too. Respect, perhaps, or caution. For most of my life aboard the Ulster, that has simply been the way of things. I grew up with the hum of the engines in my bones and the soft clatter of tools in my ears, with Irish songs sung low over evening maintenance, and the murmur of old stories traded in the galley when the watch rotation was light. My grandmother used to tell me that once, on Earth, people thought very differently of human beings, that we were loud and quick to anger, restless and proud, that we could be cruel when afraid. She spoke of it the way you would speak of some illness that nearly took the family once, long ago, and left everyone changed. It was a long time after those stories that the galaxy began to know us as it does now, careful, measured, slow to raise our voices, slower again to raise a hand. We are not saints. We still argue with each other. We still carry all the same potential inside us. But something in us turned, collectively, over generations. We chose a different way, not because we forgot what we were, but because we remembered too well. The day that all this came into focus for me in a new way began like any other. I was in the mid-deck garden, knees in the soil, checking the root mesh on a line of hardy potatoes that had no idea they were growing, several light years from the field their ancestors knew. The light panels above me was set to early afternoon over Galway, according to the schedule I had drawn up months before. It pleased me, for no good reason, to set the ship's lighting against old Irish time zones. When I stood up, brushing soil from my hands onto my work trousers, the ship's internal comm chimed softly. "Orla to port access," said the duty officer's voice. "We have a visitor from the Kestry Union requesting a cultural liaison." "Looks like it is your lucky day," I smiled. Not because I felt particularly lucky, but because I had been on board long enough to know that cultural liaison usually meant someone has heard a story and wants to see if it is true. I wiped the rest of the earth off, pulled my jacket on, and made my way through the narrow corridors, past bulkheads that hummed with familiar energy. At the port access lock, the door was already cycling. Through the transparent segment, I saw our visitor waiting on the other side. Kestry are tall, taller than most humans, with long limbs and skin that reflects light in subtle colours. This one had a travel case slung over one shoulder and a data slate clutched in both hands, like a schoolchild going into their first exam. When the lock opened and the atmosphere balanced, he stepped forward with a careful, almost ceremonial bow. "I am Talon of the Kestry," he said, his voice higher than I expected, but pleasant enough. "Thank you for allowing me aboard your vessel, Orla of the Quiet Ones." Talon straightened and looked around the docking corridor. His eyes were dark and reflective, the kind that took in more than you thought they did. "I am honoured to be here," he added. "You are welcome," I said, shifting my stance slightly into something more formal. "We may be quiet, but we still have manners. You may call me Orla. The Quiet Ones is a name other people have given us. That is precisely what I wish to speak with you about," he said, almost tripping over his words in his eagerness. "Your people fascinate our scholars. You are known as gentle, eminently reasonable, committed to peace. We have no record of humans waging war in this era, and yet the elder species speak of you with a kind of..." He searched for the word, his crest flickering with faint colour, a kind of wary respect, as if they remember something the rest of us were not present to witness. That sounded about right. I gestured down the corridor. "Come with me," I said. "We can talk in the observation lounge. It has a better view than this." As we walked, Talon glanced at everything. The exposed conduit, runs painted with tidy labels in 3 languages. The little handwritten note taped beside a panel, where we had fought a persistent rattle for months. The photograph of a coastline, pinned discreetly near one of the handholds. He moved softly, almost on the balls of his feet, as if worried the ship would break under harsh treatment. It would take a great deal more than that to trouble the Ulster, but I appreciated the instinct. "Your vessel is very lived in," he said finally, clearly searching for a diplomatic phrase. "She is old," I corrected gently, "and she has seen more of this galaxy than many captains I could name. We do not polish away every memory." We reached the observation lounge, a small compartment at the ship's nose with a wide bay window looking out into the starfield. At that moment, we were passing through a sparse patch of space, distant suns, like quiet freckles on dark skin. It was not a dramatic view, not like the bright sprawl of a nebula or the curve of a planet. But I liked it. It felt honest. Talon took a seat opposite me at the small table, his data slate tucked against his chest. For a moment, he simply stared out at the stars. "I have never been on a human ship before," he said eventually. "I expected more noise, more light, more..." He waved one elegant hand vaguely. "Chaos," I supplied, amused. He hesitated, then nodded, embarrassed. "Yes, I suppose that is the word. Your history files speak of such noise, the age of fractures, the age of flames, the time before the accord. But what I see now does not match that picture at all. The age of fractures, the age of flames. It is strange to hear something you lived close to described with such tidy phrases." I took a breath and let it out slowly. "Our history files are honest," I said. "Too honest, sometimes. We did a great many things badly. We frightened ourselves. We broke more than we mended. Eventually, we realised that if we kept going as we were, there would be no one left to write anything for the archives. So we stopped. Not all at once, and not neatly, but firmly enough that the arc of things bent. Talon's crest flushed with a deep blue, a sign of curiosity among his people. "How do you stop a thing like that?" he asked. "Our philosophers say that violence is a current. Once started, it must run its course." "We stopped feeding it," I said. "It is not more complicated than that, and it is not less. We looked at what we had done, and instead of turning away or covering it up with good stories, we made ourselves look until the shame burned nearly as hot as the anger once had. And then we rebuilt, slowly, with that memory sitting beside us, like a silent guest at every table." Talon was quiet for a while. The ship hummed gently around us. Somewhere distant, metal ticked as it warmed and cooled. "But you, personally," he said eventually, "you were not there for the earliest days. You were born after the worst was done. Why are you still so careful?" "Because care is the only way we know to keep the bad days from coming back," I said. My grandmother remembered shelters and sirens and shortages and watching grown people weep over maps. She told me those stories without drama, just the plain truth of them. And she also told me about the first accords and the small, fragile agreements that followed. It would have been easy to say, "That is in the past, it has nothing to do with me." But it does. I live in the house they rebuilt. I walk on the roads they repaired. My quiet life is paid for with their noise. You see us as peaceful because we have learned the cost of being otherwise. He looked down at his long fingers. "On my world," he said, "our worst days ended when we left the ground. Once we broke our own sky and moved into the orbital rings, there was no more space for old border disputes. There was only the work of keeping everyone breathing. We did not have time to remember the past properly. Perhaps we should have made more time. There is no single path," I said. "Every people comes to their own realization in their own way. For us, the lesson came slowly and it carved deep. For others, it comes suddenly. For some, it has not yet come, and they look at us and do not know what they are seeing." He straightened a little, his curiosity returning. "That is what the elder species mean," he said. "They speak of your kind as the ones who have seen the far end of their own nature and turned away from it. They tell stories of old human fleets and burning skies and cities shattered in hours. And then they point to ships like yours and say, 'Look how they walk now.'" I did not answer at once. I watched the stars instead, the quiet pinpoints of light that had seen far more than any archive ever would. "Do they fear us?" I asked him softly. He took his time with that one. He tilted his head back, letting the faint starlight catch the reflective surface of his eyes. "No," he said at last. "Not in the way one fears a predator or a storm. They fear waking something in you that you have chosen, very deliberately, to keep sleeping. They do not want to be the reason you remember how to burn." We sat with that for a few breaths. On the far side of the glass, a star flared a little brighter, as if in agreement. "We remember anyway," I said eventually. "But it is like remembering an illness. You do not have to feel the fever again to recall how it nearly took you." Talon leaned forward, elbows on the table. "And now," he said, "you are known for your mediation, your diplomacy, your repairs. You are sent into hot zones not to fight, but to quiet things down. How did you manage to persuade the galaxy to see you that way?" "We did not persuade anyone," I said. "We lived the way we meant to be seen, until enough time had passed that the image stuck. We arrived at conflicts without weapons. We opened our cargo bays for refugees. We sent nurses instead of soldiers. We repaired more hulls than we damaged. At first, no one trusted it. They waited for the trick. After a while, they ran out of excuses not to believe us." "It must have been difficult," he said. "It still is," I replied. "Being gentle is not the same as being soft. It is work. It is choosing the harder path often enough that it becomes the only one you can imagine taking. For a while, we let that sit between us. There are some truths that do not need decorating." Talon tapped his data slate lightly. "May I walk your ship?" he asked, "so that when I write this report, it will be more than theory." "Of course," I said. "Come on then. I will show you the Ulster." We left the lounge and drifted through the mid-corridors. I took him to the engineering deck first. The chief on duty nodded at us, her dark hair tied back in a careful knot, her sleeves rolled up past her elbows as she argued gently with a diagnostic readout. "This is Maeve," I said. "She keeps us moving." "Do you need weapons?" Talon asked her. His directness amused me. "Weapons," Maeve said, not looking up from her display. "No. We need spare parts, reasonable captains, and enough coffee to keep the night shift awake. Anything else is extra." "If someone attacked you," Talon persisted, "you could not defend yourselves." "Not the way you mean," Maeve said. She finally glanced up, her eyes crinkling in the corners. "We are not helpless, mind you. Give an engineer enough time and metal, and she will give you something you would rather not be on the wrong side of. But that is not what we are for. We have other uses." She nodded toward the bulkhead, where an old patch was still visible, the seam where a melted section of someone else's ship had once been grafted onto ours as a temporary repair. We carry stories like that in our hull, she said. That is our weapon, if you want to call it that. We left her to her work and carried on to the gardens. There, Talon wandered slowly between rows of plants, his fingers held just above the leaves, as though afraid to bruise them with a touch. He paused by a patch of clover. 3 heart-shaped leaves on each stem, green as anything that ever grew in a west of Ireland field. This grows on your old world, he said. It does, I said, or did. The fields are changed now, new climates and new care, but we brought some seeds with us when we left, and we have been stubborn about keeping them alive. It reminds us that we come from somewhere particular, that we are not just generic travellers in the dark. Why is that important? He asked. Because when you know where you come from, you know what you owe, I said, to the land, to the people who stood there before you, to the mistakes they made and the things they did right without that. It is too easy to believe that nothing you do has context, that your choices live only in the moment. Humans cannot afford that illusion. Not anymore. He considered that in silence. The grow lights hummed softly. Somewhere, a circulation fan spun up and then back down. Later, in the galley, he watched a small group of us sharing a meal. There was laughter, low and unforced. Someone told a joke that made no sense in translation, and then patiently unpacked it until everyone was laughing anyway at the sheer effort of it. Talon looked from face to face, taking in the lines around our mouths and the tiny scars on our hands, the way we leaned into one another's space, without fear. You are not saints, he said to me quietly. No, I agreed, we are not. We get tired, we get short-tempered, we make clumsy mistakes and hurt each other's feelings without meaning to. But underneath that, there is a shared decision, a long-held one, that we do not want to go back. Back to the old ways, back to the fractures. So when we stumble, we apologize. When we are wrong, we try to admit it before the wound gets deep. It is not because we are better than anyone else. It is because we have learned the hard way that the alternative is unbearable. That evening, after he had been given a small bunk in the visiting crew quarters, and the ship's artificial night cycle had begun to dim the lights, Talon found me again in the observation lounge. The stars looked the same as they had earlier, but I felt differently about them with the tiredness of the day in my bones. I have one more question, he said, folding himself into the chair opposite me. Go on so, I said. If, he began, then hesitated. I am not asking this because I wish it to happen, he said carefully. But if someone were to try to take advantage of your peaceful nature, to strike at your worlds, or your ships believing you would never answer, what would you do? I let the question rest between us for a moment. It is not an unreasonable thing to ask. It is just a dangerous thing to answer carelessly. We would try not to let it happen in the first place, I said. That is the point of all this effort, all this talking and mediating and repairing. We stand between hotheads when we can. We redirect anger. We provide exits from narrow corners so no one feels trapped into a terrible decision. That is the first line. And the second, he asked quietly. If someone insisted on harming those in our care, I said, my voice even. We would do everything in our power to stop them while still causing as little harm as possible. We have non-lethal defences. We have sabotage tools for disabling weapons. We have information. We are very good at knowing how things are held together and therefore how to take them apart in ways that do not kill the people inside. And if that still was not enough, he pressed. Then, I said, and my eyes met his. Then the galaxy would remember what we were for a little while, and we would pay for that in our own hearts long after the danger had passed, which is why we work so hard never to let it get that far. Talon's crest rippled with a mix of colours I could not name. He sat back slowly. That is what they feel, he said softly. The elder species. They feel that there is a decision beneath your decisions, a line that, if forced, you could cross in a way none of us have ever seen. Perhaps, I said, but remember this. We are not proud of that line. We do not polish it. We do not put it in songs. We leave it where it belongs. In the shadows of our history, we do not want to frighten anyone. We only want to make clear that our peace is chosen, not assumed. He nodded, absorbing that. When he left us, 2 days later, the whole crew gathered at the port access to see him off. It is an old habit, giving people a send-off in person. Talon stood at the threshold, travel case over his shoulder, data slate full of notes. I will tell them, he said, back home. I will tell them you are peaceful because you have looked at your own reflection and chosen to keep looking until it changed you. That is one way to put it, I said. Tell them we are still learning, we have not finished. He bowed, not just to me, but to the ship. Goodbye, Orla of the SS Ulster, he said. Goodbye, quiet ones. The lock cycled closed behind him. Through the small window, we watched his shuttle veer away, a small, bright shape against the star field. Then, the engines of the Ulster rumbled a little deeper as the helm adjusted our course, and we returned to our duties. There were filters to change, circuits to inspect, songs to be sung off-key in the galley after shift. Later, alone in my bunk, I thought of everything we had spoken about. My grandmother's stories, the fracture days, the slow repair, our quiet reputation. I thought of Talon's wide eyes and careful questions, and I thought of the deep, steady choice running through my people now, like a seam of Orla decision to be something better than we were. Not because anyone forced us to, but because we could not bear the alternative. People talk about humans as if we have become gentle in some strange way, as if it is against our nature. They do not understand that this is exactly our nature. At its best, it always was, even when we forgot. If you have stayed with me to the end of this little journey on the SS Ulster, thank you for your company. And if you enjoyed this quieter, future-facing Irish story, I would be very glad if you subscribed to Celtic Slumber and maybe left a comment to say whether you would like more tales of the quiet ones and the ships that wander with them. Wherever you are listening from tonight, I hope the space around you feels a little kinder for a while, and that you find just enough quiet inside yourself to rest.